They called it Blackwood Hollow, a name that tastes like dust and forgotten secrets on your tongue. Most people knew it as nothing more than a faded blot on old maps, a place where the roads simply stopped. But for me, it was an obsession, a dark, irresistible pull. It started, as these things often do, with a whisper, an old forum post buried deep in the forgotten corners of the internet, a grainy, almost indistinguishable photo of a church, cloaked in moss and shadow, standing like a forgotten sentinel in a perpetually twilight forest. The caption was simple: "The Whispering Church, don't go." Naturally, I went. I'm a photographer, you see. Or I was. Now I'm something else. My work used to be about capturing beauty, light, the fleeting moments of grace. But after a while, the mundane lost its luster. I started searching for something more, something raw, something that made the hair on the back of your neck stand up. And that church, it called to me like a siren song, a promise of the ultimate shot, the one that would define my career or end it. The drive was endless. Hours turned into a blur of winding roads, the asphalt slowly giving way to cracked pavement, then to gravel, and finally just an overgrown track barely wide enough for my old beat-up SUV. The tree line thickened, pressing in on either side, the sun of forgotten memory. The air grew heavy, damp, smelling of decay and something else, something cold and ancient. When I finally killed the engine, the silence was deafening. The kind of silence that feels like it's pressing down on your eardrums, filling every void. I stepped out, the ground soft and spongy under my boots. Moss everywhere. It draped from the branches like funeral shrouds, carpeted the forest floor in an unsettlingly vibrant green, and clung to every stone and root like a second skin. And then I saw it, just as in the photo, but infinitely more imposing, more alive. The church. It stood there, a jagged silhouette against the perpetually gray sky, its stone walls almost entirely consumed by the velvety green moss. The steeple stretched towards the heavens like a skeletal finger, the cross at its apex, barely visible, half devoured by the overgrowth. The windows, once stained glass, were now gaping, empty eyes, reflecting nothing but the impenetrable gloom of the forest. And around it, the graves. They weren't neat rows, no. This wasn't a well-tended cemetery. This was a forgotten burial ground, where time had reclaimed its own. Moss-covered mounds, barely discernible headstones, some just broken fragments swallowed by the earth. And those two prominent crosses. I felt their presence, even from a distance, like silent, grim guardians. I took a deep breath, the damp air filling my lungs with that strange, earthy, ancient scent. My camera felt heavy in my hands. This was it. The shot. I spent what felt like hours circling the church, my lens finding angles, compositions, trying to capture the sheer, unadulterated desolation of the place. The silence was unnerving, broken only by the click of my shutter and the rustle of my own movements. No birdsong, no insects, nothing, just that oppressive quiet. As the light began to fade, or rather, as the perpetual twilight of Blackwood Hollow deepened into a deeper gray, I decided to try the door. Not out of any real expectation, but a photographer's instinct, I suppose, to explore every possible facet of the subject. The double doors, heavy and made of dark, weathered wood, were surprisingly still intact. No obvious signs of forced entry. They looked ancient, like they had stood sentinel for centuries. I reached out, my hand trembling slightly, and pushed. They opened with a groan that seemed to reverberate through the very stones of the church. A breath of cold, stale air, thick with the scent of damp earth and something else, something metallic and old, washed over me. I peered inside. It was dark, so dark. Even with the ambient light filtering through the broken windows, the interior was a cavern of shadows. Dust motes danced in the sparse beams, illuminated like tiny lost souls. The pews were overturned, splintered, some completely rotted away. The altar, what was left of it, was a crumbling heap of stone, and everywhere, that pervasive, suffocating layer of dust and decay.
I stepped inside, my footsteps echoing unnaturally in the vast, empty space. The air was colder here, much colder than outside, and the silence, it wasn't a void anymore. It was a presence, a weighty, watchful presence that seemed to press in on me from all sides. I raised my camera, trying to capture the interior, but the light was just too poor. I pulled out my small LED flashlight, its beam cutting a thin swath through the gloom. It danced across the decaying walls, revealing faint, almost indistinguishable paintings, their colors long since faded into oblivion. And then I saw it. On one of the remaining, upright pews, nestled amidst the dust and splintered wood, was a small, ornate wooden box. My curiosity, a fatal flaw perhaps, got the better of me. I approached it cautiously, the floorboards groaning under my weight. The box was intricately carved, depicting what looked like twisted vines and thorns. No lock, no clasp, just a simple lid. I reached out, my fingers brushing against the cold, smooth wood, and that's when I heard it. Clearer this time, a whisper. Not from my imagination, not the rustle of leaves outside. It was inside the church, a low, sibilant sound like dry leaves skittering across stone. I froze, my hand hovering over the box. "Hello?" I called out, my voice sounding impossibly loud and fragile in the echoing space. No answer, only the whisper, now seeming to come from all around me, a cacophony of hushed, unintelligible voices.
Despite the growing dread, a perverse fascination pulled me forward. I had to know. I slowly lifted the lid of the box. Inside, nestled on a bed of faded velvet, was a single, tarnished silver locket. It was old, very old, and heavily engraved. I picked it up, feeling its surprising weight in my palm. It was cold, unnaturally cold. As my fingers closed around the locket, the whispering intensified dramatically. It wasn't just random sounds now. It was voices, many voices, overlapping, indistinct, but unmistakably human. And they were speaking to me. A cold dread seeped into my bones. This wasn't a trick of the light or my overactive imagination. This was real. I tried to open the locket to see what was inside, but it was sealed shut. Or rather, it felt like it was resisting me, almost physically. As I struggled with it, the whisper swelled into a chorus, a cacophony of mournful, pleading tones. And then, one voice, clear as a bell, cut through the din. "Leave us." I dropped the locket as if it had burned me. It clattered against the dusty floorboards. The sudden silence that followed was even more terrifying than the cacophony. My mind screamed at me to run, to get out, but my feet felt rooted to the spot. My eyes darted around the oppressive gloom of the church. I felt watched. Every shadow seemed to coalesce. Every creak of the old building sounded like a footstep. Then, a faint light, a pulsating glow, began to emanate from the locket on the floor. It pulsed with a sickly greenish hue, illuminating the dust motes around it. And as it pulsed, the whispers started again. Not a chorus this time, just one clear, insistent voice. The same voice. He watches. He waits. My breath hitched in my throat. Who watches? Who waits? I scrambled backward, overturning a pew. My camera, forgotten, slipped from my grasp and hit the floor with a sickening thud. The lens cracked. I didn't care. The green light from the locket pulsed faster, and the voice grew louder, more urgent. He collects souls. My blood ran cold. I pushed myself up, my legs shaking violently. I had to get out, now. I stumbled toward the double doors, my eyes still fixed on the pulsating locket. The shadows around me seemed to writhe, to stretch, reaching out. I felt cold fingers brush against my neck, a phantom touch that made me gasp. As I reached the doors, I glanced back. The locket was glowing fiercely now, and from it a faint, shimmering, ethereal mist began to rise, swirling and coiling like a spectral serpent. And within the mist I saw faces, distorted, tormented faces, their mouths open in silent screams, pleading eyes. They were trying to tell me something, trying to warn me. I tore the doors open, a desperate, raw sound. The outside air, though still damp and cold, felt like a breath of life after the suffocating dread within. I scrambled out, not daring to look back, not daring to breathe until I was clear of that cursed place. I ran. I didn't care where. I just ran, blindly, through the dense, unforgiving forest, the thorny branches tearing at my clothes, the roots tripping me at every step. The whispers followed me, I swear it, carried on the wind, a chilling chorus of despair. I don't know how long I ran. Minutes, hours. Time had lost all meaning. My lungs burned, my legs ached, but the fear propelled me forward. I finally burst out of the tree line, gasping for air, collapsing onto the overgrown track. My SUV, it was still there, a beacon of sanity in this nightmare. I fumbled with the keys, my hands shaking so violently I could barely insert them into the ignition. The engine sputtered, then roared to life. I slammed the gear into reverse, spinning the tires on the loose gravel, desperate to put as much distance as possible between myself and that place. I drove through the night. The image of those tormented faces burned into my mind. Every shadow on the roadside seemed to twist into something monstrous. Every rustle of leaves sounded like a whispered warning. I made it home, eventually. The familiar comforts of my apartment felt alien, cold. The silence, once comforting, now screamed with the echoes of those spectral voices. I haven't been able to sleep soundly since. Every night, the same nightmare. The church, the locket, the rising mist, and the faces, and that voice. He watches, he waits, he collects souls. I haven't touched my camera. I haven't taken another photo. The beauty I once sought seems trivial, meaningless against the backdrop of what I experienced. I tried to research Blackwood Hollow again. Nothing. It's like the place doesn't exist outside of my nightmare. Except for that old forum post. I found it again. But the photo was gone. just a broken link. And the caption, it had changed. It now simply read, "The Whispering Church, you were warned." And sometimes, when the wind howls just right outside my window, I hear it. Faint at first, then clearer. Not a whisper, but a metallic clinking sound, like something small and cold, gently tapping against stone. And I know he's still out there, and he's waiting. And sometimes, late at night, when the house is still and the silence is thick, I wonder, did I truly escape? Or did I bring a piece of Blackwood Hollow and its dark, collecting presence back with me?